So everyone has had this experience. We've all gone into a party or a conference or a room or a meeting and seen someone we didn't know and thought to ourselves, I want to get to know that person. They seem interesting to me. They seem intriguing. Or maybe you just get a feeling that they seem like a nice person or a good person. We've all also had the opposite experience. You go into a conference or a meeting or a party or a room and you take a look at someone and you think, I'm going to stay away from that person. I just get a bad feeling about them. There's something about them that makes me feel a little odd. Well, to me, a strong, positive personal brand ultimately is about that first feeling. It's about being around someone where you just get a good feeling about them. And when we have a strong, positive personal brand, other people often feel good around us and they're not even sure why. You know, if you think about it, a personal brand is really about leveraging the assets that are you. It's not about spin. It's not about making something up. It's not even about a good story. It's about taking those qualities that make you your best self and expressing those in the world, whether it's online or offline. The other way to think about a personal brand, and I love this quote, is Jeff Bezos of Amazon once said, "A personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room." So I like to think of a personal brand the way I think about a trip to the optometrist. So if you wear glasses or you know someone that wears glasses, you know that when you go to get your prescription, they take this big metal machine and they stick it in front of your face, and then they put on the board in front of you a chart of letters and numbers, and then they keep changing the lenses, and they say, does this lens make it fuzzier or clear? Then they change lenses again. Fuzzier or clear, fuzzier or clear, fuzzier or clear, until they get the exact perfect prescription for you based on the lenses. Well, I think a personal brand is just like that, except for there isn't one lens that you look at your personal brand through, there's really 7. What happens is for a lot of people, they think once they get their, quote unquote elevator pitch, now they've got their personal brand. But the reality is that there's really 7 lenses you need to define in order to look at your personal brand through. And when you know what those 7 lenses are and they're clear, it's so much easier to put your brand out in the world, online or off. So in my model, the brand mapping strategy model, there are 7 lenses. And the first lens is what I call the anchor statement. Now, some people call that the elevator pitch. I call it the anchor statement because really, I think it's the thing that anchors your brand. And it answers the question, what do you do? So again, we all know when we meet someone new or we're at a conference or we're at a party and someone says, what do we do? Almost everyone has an answer for that. The problem is a lot of people have an answer that's what I would call brand confusion. They're all over the place. They're trying to explain it. It's got a lot of details, but they're not very clear about what they're saying. We've all had that experience. And of course, we'll stand there and nod politely, but we really don't know what the person is saying about what they do. Then there are other people that are what I call brand ramblers. They can tell you exactly what they do, but it takes them a long time. And they go into all this agonizing detail that, let's face it, we don't really care about. The ideal with the anchor statement is to be at what I call brand clarity. And brand clarity is when you can say what it is that you do in a minute or less, and people understand exactly what your brand is, exactly what you do, exactly what you represent. Now that might sound like something easy to get to, but the reality is to get it that concise, to get it that powerful, really takes some work. Here's the practical way to create your anchor statement, which is lens number 1 for the brand. Write down everything you do. Think of all the things that you do at work, all the things that comprise your brand. You can either write them down with a pen and paper or you can do it on a computer, either way. And then see if you can take all of that and condense it down to a very simple 1 or 2 sentence answer to the question, what do you do? So for example, I have a client who's a chiropractor and his anchor statement is, I'm a chiropractor who specializes in working with teenagers who've had sports injuries. Now, what's great about that anchor statement is that it tells people exactly what he does, but it has just a little bit of a twist, just a little bit of interest so that people are engaged in who he is and what his brand is. Here's the thing. The human brain looks for patterns. So if we're listening to someone talk and we can easily take what they say and fit it into a pattern, our brains can rest and then we can be with the person. We can actually be paying attention to what they're saying. But if we're talking and we can't understand the pattern, we can't understand what they're saying, we can't quickly fit it into a pattern, then what happens is we'll nod and we'll smile, or the other person, if they're listening to us, will nod and smile, but they're really not there. They're really not paying attention. So the whole goal here is to shrink down all of that information into one very concise but powerful anchor statement that says what you do. Another example would be a client of mine who says to people, when he's asked what they do, he'll say, I'm an attorney and I specialize in working with actors who are getting their first agent, right? Very simple, very to the point, very easy to fit into a pattern. So the goal here is you're trying to take all the big mass of what you do and get it down into 1 or 2 sentences that tells people who you are and what you do with a twist, but in a way that's simple enough for them to fit into a pattern almost immediately.